Hey guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to my stream, welcome to another chapter working on this guy right there, our 1967 Shelby GT350. So I will, we'll get the intro run and we'll get started, shall we? So, after last time, I started working on our little bits that are going to be going on to the couple little spots on the body here. Our little side vents and our little vent that goes up in the rear quarter glass window, or you know, on a regular Mustang that'd just be glass, but on the Shelbys it's not. You guys saw I was just starting to use my little electric Dremel thing in there. And I did manage to get these holes drilled right through. You can see right through. I got a big hole right there. Just like that. Okay, sorry. Where are we here? There we are. Just like that. Okay. Got that one. Did that with all of them. All four of them. Our side vents too. You can stick my knife right in through there. Okay. So our vents are opened. That's a nice little thing you can do with these. Not that it's really going to add a heck of a lot of detail to it, but it is. As you can see here, I've got a couple of extra little parts. If I move them here, you can actually see them on the other camera. These are the carburetors I'm going to be putting on the engine. So I just started painting them, and so I got to do a coat of paint on those. Just going to do some aluminum on these, and then we got to do a bunch of body work. Okay. I'm not really happy with the way everything fits on the body, and unfortunately that's just something I need to deal with AMT, and that's the way everything fits, and that's just the way it is. And unfortunately, yeah, it is what it is. So I've got the front and the rear put on there, and then I use some CA glue to fill in the gaps. Which means I got a whole bunch of sanding to do. And we're going to paint our carburetors first. Okay? I'm going to paint our carbs first. I've already done the insides of the little rams there. Got those painted, so painted black, so we get the illusion of it actually going down inside. That. So I'm going to do that, and I get some aluminum on here, and I'll do some detail later. I'm going to get these at least looking a little aluminum-ish, if that's a word, and not so plastic-ish. Yeah. There we go. Okay, there's one. Now these are actually pretty big. If I show you the engine here, that's a huge carb sitting on there, right? But, you know, it's a big engine too, so that's fine. I think maybe these carbs are like more of a, maybe like a 124 scale. Well, the engine is 125, which would be why the engine looks a little bit small. The engine matches the scale of the car, but maybe these carbs aren't. But you know what? For the amount of times I'm going to have the hood open, it's not really going to matter. It wouldn't even matter if I just forgot the carbs and left them off, because once the hood's on and it's sitting on the shelf, yeah, how many times are you actually going to pop the hood on the thing? You know what I mean? Realistically, that's what I'm thinking of. Realistically, how often do you pop the hood on your model and take a look at the engine? Unless you've got a model where you're actually displaying the engine open, the hood open, you know? That, of course, changes the ball game. But that is what it is. Okay. So I just wanted to get a little paint on those guys and get those ready for the next step. So yeah, because we're focusing more on the body now, I got to do a whole lot of sanding. Okay, so this particular kit is going to test my bodywork skill. Okay, so you saw me glue the trunk on last time, right? You saw me put this glue this section on and left this one unglued. So I left it for about an hour and then put in some CA glue in behind there so that this is not just an open gap, open hole there, but it's actually filled in with glue in there. I want to leave the panel line. Okay, I want to leave that. That's supposed to be like that. In the real car, just like your separation between your door and your fender, you've got a separation here because the real life car, this is a separate piece. Okay, so anyway, moving on to this side. This side was a little bit worse, had a little bit bigger gap, so I had to use a little more CA glue. Again, I just went in from behind so that down in here, I just filled it in. So I retain my panel line so I can sand this all I want and we're still going to have a nice panel line there. All I need to do is just get it kind of straight and flat and smoothed out so that it's not a lip on there. Speaking of lips, we have a huge lip on the back. Okay, for whatever reason AMT molded this back piece actually wider than the car is. So I have a lip here and I have a lip here on both sides. Okay, so I've got to sand that piece down quite a bit, pretty aggressively, mind you. I'm going to have to sand that down. So I'm going to take a sanding stick. That's what I'm going to be focusing on today, guys. Sanding it down. I'm going to use quite aggressive sanding sponge. Okay, sand this down. If I press too hard, what can happen is it can actually put grooves in the plastic, and I don't want to do that. Okay, I do want it aggressive. I want to sand this down, but I don't want to do too harsh. What might actually be a good idea is to put some masking tape on this so that when in my sanding I don't inadvertently sand on here, because this is pretty aggressive. This is kind of like a maybe equivalent of a 100 grit, something like that. So I'm going to take my own advice and put a little masking tape on this just to protect it, because I don't need to sand anywhere else. Okay, so we'll just do that and just kind of protect that. Protect it from myself. Protect me from myself, right? That's good advice. So I'm going to keep going at this until we get it roughly even. So we're going to go through little by little. We're going to sand this down. Every few seconds I'm just checking my work to make sure I haven't gone too far. Once I get down to a point where it's pretty much level, then I just move on to another little section, going around the bend of the body. A little bit, check it, do more, check it, do more, check it, over and over and over again. Just continue on. You don't want to press too hard. If you do that with such a harsh grit on the sanding sponge, you're just going to gouge the plastic, and then you wind up having to use some filler later, and that's what I'm trying to prevent. So again, just go slowly, keep checking your work, have patience. I know even myself, I want to get it done quickly, I want it to go fast. Checking panel lines, I'm not sure if the edge of the back part of the car is supposed to have a panel line going down the side like that or not. I'll have to check some reference photos on 67 Mustangs and see if there is a panel line there or not. And if so, then I'll just have to rescribe it. That's not a big deal. But the point I'm trying to make here is I'm just trying to get down so that it's nice and level and flat and even with the rear quarter panel. Although on this side I didn't fill my gap as good as I did, but it's not bad. I'm at a point where it's pretty much flat and level, and that's all I needed to do. Okay, now I can go to some less harsh sanding sponges, such as maybe a 2000 or something like that, or even a 1000 to start. I'll start with a 1000, and we're going to move up. We'll move up from there. I do have 2000, but not much. We'll go 1000, and then I seem to be missing some of mine. I have misplaced my sanding sponge. There they are. They're hiding on me. These guys here. 4000. This is a different 1000. Two different 1000s. This one's kind of old. I'll use a new one. A new 1000. And then we'll go up to 4000. And then maybe 6. I think even just going to 4000 after the one is going to be an improvement just on itself. I actually think I want to use some real sandpaper. I got some pretty bad, nasty gouges in there. I'm going to go to actual sandpaper. This is real sandpaper. I think this is a 320 grit. I just want to get rid of these grooves that I got in there. Smooth those out a little bit. Got some nasty grooves. Just kind of even them out. That looks a little better. That's a lot nicer. I'm going to take this off. And we'll get our 1000 in there. Let's see how we do. This, of course, is the real test. How good your bodywork is. If you can hide all those scratches before even putting primer on. It's going to take a lot more work than that, that's for sure. This is where I kind of like automotive grade sandpaper a little bit better, because something like a 300 grit just bites into the plastic a little better. Just very lightly, but I can get rid of scratches and feather it out a little easier. That's looking better. Get back at it with our 1000 grit. That's looking better. I'll have to do a little bit more down here. Okay. Sometimes I feel like, sometimes I feel like this stuff, these sanding sponges tend to polish the plastic more than actually sand it. Even though 1000 grit is supposed to be, 1000 sanding sponge is supposed to be fairly aggressive. I think that's good enough to a point where I can put some primer on that and then go from there and see how it's going to do and how it's going to look. Okay, I think that's going to be good enough. Scratching the car's itchy spot. Yeah, that's right, you Alan. So there, I think that is at a point where I think that's good enough. We'll see what that looks like when I put some primer on it. And we'll go from there once it's primered. Okay. Now let's work on this other side here. What I really should do is kind of wet this down and kind of wet sand it with the 320. I think that I got some water here in a bottle. I'm just going to wet it. Get the sandpaper wet. This is my quick and easy way of wet sanding. Just to get rid of these scratches a little bit without really going crazy. Because I know how easy it is when you've got a grit under 1,000. It's really easy to just gouge the crap out of the plastic. That is close to smooth enough that I'm happy with it. Now, one spot that's a little tough to get in, I would like to sand in here and in here, but that's going to be tough to do. Like really tough. Okay, anyway, let's move on to this part. This is where I do want to wet sand it, so I'm going to get my sandpaper wet again. Okay, and I'm just going to take the edge off of this. Now my hand's soaking wet, but that's okay. I'm going to take the edge off of this. Again, I'm leaving that panel line. I just want to get rid of the edge, just so it's not so prominent, because it really is showing the misalignment in the molding, and I would like to fix that. That's a little bit better. Like I've mentioned before quite a few times, I'm not a body man. I'm never going to get this really great. Definitely not A4 garage quality. But we're going to try anyway, right? That's the whole point. Let's get this wet again. Do our little edge here. There we go. Okay, I think that's good enough. It's just not so much of a crazy edge on it now, and it's a little bit smoother of a transition from the front clip to the fender, and that's I'm happy with that. That's good enough. I know it's not going to be perfect. It's not ever going to be perfect, but it's better. So let's put a little coat of primer on it and see how she looks. Okay, let's wipe this off. We'll put a coat of primer on her and see how much more body work we got to do. Okay, so primer's just going to be some Mr. Surfacer 1500 gray, and I'm going to use a new little tool that I have purchased, and that's the Tamiya body holder kit thing. We can do that, but the nice thing about this is we can adjust how these work, like this and like this, and get the spread a little bit more so that it holds it tighter in the body. And we'll see here, we could do that. And hey, it holds the body, and you can put it down, you can spin it. That's kind of neat. That's going to be nice and easy to get these angles at the bottom here, like this, right? So let's throw some primer on this little puppy and see how she looks. Just going to do this. I won't set up my table like I normally do. Always important to get the underside done first, okay? So you can always do the top after. I'm kind of focusing a little bit on it, certain areas. Need a couple of coats. Okay. We now have a gray Shelby Mustang. And I should have opened up my window and got my fan going before doing that, because right now I've got a room full of paint fumes. So don't copy me on that, okay? Don't follow me on my painting technique in this video, okay? Because I don't have proper ventilation. I do now, but it's after the fact, and I've already breathed in some fumes, so be smarter. Don't do that. Okay, so with the primer on there, this side at the back looks pretty good. And other than a little bit of a seam line change the camera back. Okay. You can see a little bit of a seam line at the back there. Well, that's not bad. You know, if I'm actually supposed to have a panel line there, then I did pretty good. But it does seem smooth, so I managed to smooth that out pretty good, and that looks all right. As you can see, I definitely still have my panel lines at the front there, and like I said, it's never going to be perfect, but that's okay. It's okay if it's not perfect. I still got a little bit of a glossy goodness going on the top, on the roof right there. You can see the light shining because the paint's still a little bit tacky. So I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch it, right? I'm going to let that dry totally, and while I'm actually thinking about it, I should do a coat of primer on the hood. So I've got to get the hood out of the box, because we have, as of yet, done anything with our little hood. Just going to do this, and we have our 2 license plates, front and rear, that's going to be going on later, so I'll get those off of this sprue. I have a little mystery part here that I'm not sure what it's for. I really don't know, but I guess I'll find out soon enough. To be honest, I haven't looked through the instructions to see what this actually goes on, or what it is. It's part number 79. It's got some detail in it. I do not know what it is. It's a cap of some sort, but I don't know yet. So that's going to go on the desk there of mystery parts. And that's it for this sprue. It's always kind of nice when you get all the parts off of a sprue. You feel like you're getting somewhere. Okay, so you got to be careful with the way you cut this off. I'm actually going to use my knife because, you know, AMT was not very nice in how they did this. So I want to just slowly cut away at this part. Okay, run the knife along there, bit by bit, until it eventually comes off. Okay. There we go. That's how you do it. Now I'm going to take my file. Again, they don't seem to know how to do smooth edges in this kit very well on their long edges. So let's file that down. Get this edge smoothed off. There we go. Actually feel a bit of a lip on this edge, which really should not be there. Why is there a lip? There shouldn't be a lip here. I can literally hit it with my fingernail. There's a lip there. Still there. There we go. Fixed. All right. The other edges, the other 3 edges seem to be good. They seem to be fine. No flash or nothing like that. Looks good. Let's see how it fits in here. I'm guessing we're going to have a terrible fit at the front. Actually, we got some flash on our little brackets that go in there. There we go. Let's try this again. It's not bad. That's actually a pretty good fit. I've definitely seen a lot worse fits than that. That looks pretty good. It sits down nice. Sits down nice and level. Actually, it wouldn't be a terrible thing if I just left the hood looking like that. Put a clear coat on it, you know? But anyway, we got to paint the hood. I am going to do this. So I got something to hold onto the hood with. I'll spray the inside first and then spray the outside later. I'm actually going to use stronger pliers to hold it because this will really hold it strong. And we'll do a coat on that. So, let me grab my green primer again. We got a gray hood, both sides. Actually, all 6 sides. It's a 3D part, right? So you got to do your edges also. Do these edges. All around the edges too. You don't want to leave your edges unpainted. I'll give this maybe 20 seconds to dry and I'll do another coat on the top there. The underside is fine. The underside's going to basically be body color and then black anyway, so. There we go. Another coat on there. So, he can sit there, he can be done. Okay. And that is that. So, you know guys, as tempted as I am to sand the body, it has been freshly primered, and that's not really a good thing to do. I'm going to put this down right here. There you go. What I do want to do is I want to fill in the gap along the trunk, because the trunk lid is just, that gap is a little too pronounced. When you compare to the panels on the doors, this is a huge gap, and I don't like that. So what I like to do is, because the gap is so deep, what I'll do is I'll fill that in with some putty. Vallejo's plastic putty. I like this stuff because you can put it on there, you can clean it up, it's water based, so you can wipe it off just with a little bit of water and on your finger and just wipe it away. It cleans up nice. However, being water-based, as it dries, it does shrink a little bit. So even if you put this on the panel line and you get it flush, when it dries, it's going to have sunk in a little bit. And that's the secret, is now it's sunk in that panel line a little bit, and now I've got my panel line back. So even though I go along here like this, I'll change the camera back and you'll see exactly how I do this. Okay. So this is dry now. I can take this off of here. Okay. Yeah, even this is no longer tacky. This is all dry. Good enough to touch now. Okay. But not cured. I don't want to sand it. So we're going to go along here. Squeeze some of this out and just go all the way along here. There we go. And you see, I'm not a big fan of these panel lines here either. There we go. And now we do the cleanup. Get this. And so simply just wipe. Just wipe it away. Actually, make sure my finger's clean. Just wet my finger a little bit. And you can see a few spots there where I've wiped it and it's gone. You can actually, it's almost like it's not there at all. So I'll just add a little bit more to that spot. Okay, so let's get a little more. These spots where wiping it away actually exposed a hole, just put a little bit more. This is great on aircraft when you've got panel lines that are just too deep and they don't match the other panel lines on the plane. So do the same thing on this. Okay, when I feel this feels pretty much flush, but when this dries, okay, when that dries, that's going to be a panel line again. Okay, and it'll be similar to the door. And that's the whole purpose for that. I could do the same on here. I could clean this up a little bit too, I think. That could use some cleaning up. It's a little bit too much. I'll give this a wipe like that. When that dries, that's going to be a panel line. Same with that one. But it'll really clean up the look on the hood. Okay, so guys, that is going to be it for today. I know this is a short video, but that's kind of the nature of doing the body work on this. Is you do one quick thing and then you got to wait a long time, right? I want to let that. I got to let this primer cure, and I need to let this putty cure, and then I can attack it with very fine sandpaper. Maybe I'll do like a 10,000 grit just to take any dust imperfections out of the primer, and then next time we'll do some color. Okay, we're going to start with a silver because, spoiler alert, I'm going to try to do a candy red on this. Okay, I'm going to try my attempt at candy painting again. You guys might remember I tried the candy painting on, what car was it now? I believe it was my 1981 Firebird. I tried doing candy blue. Didn't work at all. It didn't come out. It just came out blue. And so yeah, well, that's what it is sometimes, right? Just reminded myself by looking at my desk, I have to put my little my little vents, put my little vents on, and then primer them. That will be the second coat of primer on this guy. I'll put the vents on and then I'll primer it. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching, and thanks for all the new subscribers. And we've got a couple of projects coming up that are going to be pretty interesting. There's a couple of cars I'm going to be doing. I'm going to call them a movie series, and yeah, so some famous cars, a couple of them anyway. That'll be coming up in the future. Just working on that. Just a little bit of a spoiler for you guys. Anyway, thanks for all the subscribers. Thanks for all the support and the comments. Remind you, hit that like button over on this side down here somewhere behind my monitor. There's a subscribe button. That would be appreciated too. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot, and we'll see you all in the next one.